And staying with this issue now, Andrew Wallace, the Shadow Attorney-General, is with me. Welcome back to Radio National Breakfast.
Thanks, Barbara.
Some fairly strong comments from the Minister for Climate Change and Energy there regarding Sussan Ley's comments on Foreign Minister Penny Wong, saying they were disgusting and she needs to check her behaviour. What's your response?
Well, Barbara, I saw Sussan in Sydney down at Bondi last week. Every day last week, she was visiting the site. She was with community leaders, with people who have lost loved ones, people who have been injured in hospital. Sussan is feeling the grief and pain that has been experienced by the Jewish community in Australia viscerally, because she's been immersed in that grief and pain. And I think Sussan's comments yesterday were entirely appropriate. The government, the Prime Minister, needs to wake up to himself. This continued nothing to see here issue in relation to the Federal Royal Commission belies belief. What is the Prime Minister trying to hide? Why won't he announce a Federal Royal Commission which will look into all of these things? Now, I heard the Prime Minister yesterday say, oh, well, we don't want a state Royal Commission, we don't want an inquiry into the intelligence agencies and a Federal Royal Commission. Well, I agree with him, that would be silly. What we do want is one all-encompassing Federal Royal Commission which will look into the reasons that led to this massacre and the anti-Semitism that has been absolutely prevalent in this country particularly since the 7th of October 2023. Only a Federal Royal Commission can deal with all of these issues, including things like immigration, our counter-terrorism response, the connection between police, law enforcement and our intelligence agencies. All of these things need to be looked at.
But how long would that take, Andrew Wallace? I mean, the Prime Minister has said his concern is that there needs to be a quick response. What you're outlining sounds like a very deep and long dive into many facets of Australian life and politics.
Well, I heard the Prime Minister yesterday also critique the draft terms of reference which were put together by the Coalition yesterday and announced yesterday. This was Australia's worst terrorist event, a worst terrorist attack. And I make no apologies. The Coalition makes no apologies for putting together a very, very comprehensive and detailed terms of reference. Now, Royal Commissions inevitably take time. You can't quibble with that. But they are the preeminent form of inquiry in this country. And I cannot understand why the Prime Minister would not agree to a Federal Royal Commission which will look into all failings of state, territory and Commonwealth government departments and agencies. Only a Federal Royal Commission. And it's not just me saying this, Barbara. We've got a former Chief Justice of the High Court coming out and saying this. We've got now 100 silks, senior barristers around the country who have signed an open letter saying that this is the only way that this should be dealt with. These are preeminent lawyers in this country. It's not just me. I know the Prime Minister may not want to listen to me. That's fair enough. But we've now got Peter Cosgrove, a former Governor-General. We've even got Labor Party members, past and present, who are breaking ranks with the Prime Minister. What does the Prime Minister have to hide? Look, essentially what the Prime Minister, I think, is doing is he is limping to the 25th of December, hoping that this will all go away and the media will move on post 1st of January. Well, I've got news for the Prime Minister. I'm going to be on the airwaves and on television and every other form of media banging on about the importance of a Federal Royal Commission until he agrees to do it. And if he thinks the Coalition is going to go quiet, I've got news for him.
The Prime Minister says that the Commonwealth will fully cooperate with any Royal Commission in New South Wales. Does that not mean that inquiry can effectively do what you're calling for?
Absolutely not. And I'll tell you why. So one of the very important aspects that the Federal Royal Commission should look into is counter-terrorism, and that obviously involves our national intelligence community agencies. Now, I don't trust the Prime Minister to effectively mark his own homework. Only a Federal Royal Commission can say to an intelligence agency, say for someone like Mike Burgess, you will appear before the Royal Commission on this date at this time and you will bring this documentation with you. Now, a New South Wales Royal Commission could try to do that, but effectively the ASIO or an intelligence agency could send an underling, send someone who, whilst they're representing ASIO, it would not have the ability to be able to compel the right people. And only a federal Royal Commission could do that. And I just keep coming back, Barbara, to all the legal community in this country are all saying the same thing. Only a Federal Royal Commission should have these powers. What does the Prime Minister have to hide? Why is he obfuscating on this? Now, I don't know the answer to that, but every day that the Prime Minister delays, every day that the Prime Minister tries to run and hide on this issue, it makes it look perhaps worse than what it is. I don't know. But this is the worst terrorist attack on Australian soil. We've had royal commissions into bushfires. We've had royal commissions into institutional violence. We've had royal commissions into so many things. 15 Australians died at Bondi and 42 people were hospitalised. We cannot let this event go by without a proper and thorough examination using our preeminent form of inquiry, a Federal Royal Commission, to look into how this happened.
My guest on Radio National Breakfast is the Shadow Attorney-General Andrew Wallace. We don't have much time, Andrew Wallace, but if I could just briefly bring you to another matter, the gas plan announced yesterday, the gas reservation. The Coalition's plan called for 50 to 100 petajoules of gas to be set aside for the East Coast market. This plan announced by the government would reserve more than double that. Are you happy with it?
Well, I think it's important to recognise that the Labor Party is late to the party on this. We announced our gas reservation policy 10 months ago. Now, Chris Bowen, it's not very often I agree with Chris Bowen on anything, but on his identification of the laws of supply and demand, this should move the dial to some extent. Now, I appreciate they can't say how much by, but at the end of the day, this government has utterly demonised gas. It demonised gas both at a federal level and a state level. We've got state Labor governments who are effectively shutting the gas markets down. They're trying to move people from gas to electricity because they don't have the supply. There has been a total failure on the part of Labor, state and federal governments in investment into pipelines and exploration, and that has resulted in significantly increased prices for energy in this country.
Andrew Wallace.
I'm pleased that the Labor Party has come out and seen the light on gas, but it is very, very late.
Andrew Wallace, thank you.
Thanks, Barbara.
That's Shadow Attorney-General Andrew Wallace.
Authorised by Andrew Wallace, LNP, Boccarina, Queensland.